What is up, everyone? It is March. March Madness is here. The tournament's here. Thursday, 16-game slate. Big one, Kurt. Big one to start us off. The playing games were fun. We got Colorado through last night. That was good. Some really good games yesterday. The first one goes to OT, the 16 seeds. But we've got a bunch of games today tipping off in just about 2 hours or so here. Kurt, what's going on, man? You ready?
Ready as I can be. Not completely there mentally, but we're here. Got some personal shit going on, but I mean, you gotta get through it, and hopefully we have a good day. I'm gonna be leaning on you and Cappy mostly because, like I said, I'm just not completely here mentally, but I'm excited to be here and talking with you. So, best time of the year. Let's get to it.
Yeah, the first couple days always kind of weird for DFS because we get teams that we don't normally see on slates. So, just trying to get to Saturday is big, especially in the Mania for sure, just because, you've got these mid majors. There's always some weird pricing early. So we have some of that on the slate, but, we'll kind of get to it as we run through the games. We got 16 of them today to get through. So let's just start them off. We're going to go in chronological order here, starting with Sparty against Mississippi State. Kurt, sportsbooks have it Sparty -1, 130.5 total as of last night. Interesting game to start us off. I think it's a better real life game than DFS game. Sparty, should they be here? Should they not? That's a different argument. This is the slate that we have. But the guys on the Sparty side, Kurt, we'll start with them. Prices haven't really moved in what seems like a couple months now. So we're not getting any gifts with these price tags here. Tough matchup against Mississippi State, who plays good defense. What do you got here on the Sparty side? Anything here?
Not much. It's a 130.5 total, and we saw that. I saw the record today on Twitter about how the games before 1 o'clock on opening weekend, like the unders just crush. So, Scott, that's funny, but not much love here. Malik Hall, we know the ceiling he has, but Mississippi State, I just respect him too much defensively. So, I think I'm exiting the entire pool for Michigan State, bro.
Yeah, I'm playing like a half a dozen lineups, something like that. I don't have any Michigan State. I think my favorite one would be Tyson Walker, just because he can nuke any slate himself. I think my interest is on the Mississippi State side. If going to this game for DFS, Kurt, I think Tolu Smith at 6'8" is the best play in the game. Could be the lowest price you've seen on him all season. I'm not exactly sure, but sounds right there. And as we know, Sparty can be had inside with their pretty weak interior players. Is it Tolu Smith for you? We have the Frost Josh Hubbard, who's just an absolute nitro scorer when he's on, but he's got kind of the teeth of the Sparty defense there at the guard position.
Yeah, two of the most polarizing forward upside plays today, Tolu Smith and Dessou. Dessou obviously Tolu's been a little bit better about the fouls this year. Michigan State, Bigs versus Michigan State, we've been doing it for years and years, and even though Michigan State has tightened it up a little bit this year, it's still pretty bad. So Tolu, I think, is always live to have a big game. Haven't seen him bust out in a while, but maybe we see a minutes pushed here. I think in one of the overtime games in the tournament, I think he saw 38, which still would have been almost mid-30s minutes, close to it. Tolu, great GPP play, borderline cash play, but I'm sticking to him in GPPs. Josh Hubbard's going to chuck, but scoring alliant guy, I trust Michigan State enough to kind of keep him at least in check. I mean, even if he scores 25, I don't think he kills me with the peripherals. So just the Tolu Smith play. Cameron Matthews is fine for cash. It's hard to pay $6,500 against Michigan State for a guy with 11% usage. Same thing with Jeffries, 10% usage. It's tough to pay $6K for that on the slate. So just Tolu for me.
Yeah, I think it's Tolu or pass for me. All right, game 2 of the day, Duquesne and BYU. Interesting game here. The line's kind of raced out to 10.5. If you're playing survivors, I think BYU, one of the best picks on the board, if not the best pick on the board. They've got a really rough stylistic matchup in the second round against Illinois. So I think they're probably one and done in this tournament. And Duquesne, I actually like Duquesne on the spread here, catching the points, but for them to beat BYU, I think it'd be tough. It's -10 or so, 142 total. Duquesne was hurt for a lot of the year, Kurt, but they've got their full backcourt intact now with Dede Grant and Jimmy Clark. I think just kind of contrarian plays for those two. And then BYU, as we know, runs a deep rotation. They play a bunch of guys. They kind of run a hot hand a lot of the time, especially at guard. I think Dallin Hall probably the best play, but no, outstanding plays from this game. What do you think?
Do we have the news on Trey Williams?
We have him projected out for now.
Okay, so I don't think you need one here, but for a team with such a good defensive efficiency rating, BYU gave up a lot of big games to guards. I'm not playing these guys. I'm just saying this is just more of a question I've had all year. But has that made any sense to you? How good they are on defense, but they just give up massive fantasy point games to guards throughout the Big 12 season. So confused.
Yeah, well, their guards aren't very athletic. So
that's true. And why is that, Steve? Why is that? We're not going to get into that.
they got the 6 seed because they were supposed to be a 5. They got the 6 because they can't play on Sundays. So there's your answer right there.
Oh gosh, but
yeah. So I think yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm mostly full fade. If you're in like 20 or something in the main or like a 20 max, I think it's just interesting to have a share of Dusan Morocic if Trey Williams is out again. He's like 3,600. It's not a great matchup and stuff, but if Fusini, if Drame gets in foul trouble, I think we might see this like 3,600 forward for them start and play like high 20s minutes. You never know. Just a 20 max play, get one share, nothing crazy. Don't force him into other stuff. But yeah, that's my dart play from this game. That's about it.
Yeah, Gav's in here with us, but he would be happy. He's a Mortgage fan. All right, let's move on. Akron Creighton, game 3. Creighton minus 12 or so, 141 tote. Akron's got a dude in Enrique Freeman, but really, really tough matchup here against Kalkbrenner, one of the best defenders in the country, defensive player of the year in the Big East. I think Enrique Freeman's going to be popular here, Kurt. I think he's a big decision point for lineups at 8,400 because he's going to project really well, but the matchup is tough as nails. What do you think with him to start off in this game?
I just can't pay that price. I'll get to Ali for cheap. I mean, Freeman's a stud, but like I just like going other places. And I'm gonna let you take the rest of Creighton. I got to take this real quick, but yeah, it's all you. That's all I like in this game, anyways.
Yeah, so I think Freeman's a reasonable play. I don't think he's as good of a play as the projection is. At least what we have on him here. I think Greg Tribble is okay for 4-4 as kind of a differentiator. We'll get to the best cheap plays, but I think Tribble is at least interesting in this spot if you want to get different down low. And then the Creighton side, they're kind of in the same team all season for DFS. They've got the 3 studs that basically all of their usage goes through in Shireman, Kalkbrenner, and Trey Alexander. The prices are tough here because Akron's going to play slow. They're a decent defensive team. And the Creighton guys are priced up, right? Like for them to reach these ceilings, they've got to play basically the whole game, which they will if the game's close. Like, we could see 38 to 40 minutes from all 3. But if Creighton pulls away in this game, which they easily could, the projection on these guys, if they play 33, 34 minutes, is going to take a bit of a hit. So you're paying full freight for Creighton guys in not the best matchup with a team total of, in the mid 70s. They're not main lineup plays for me, but I think they're decent plays in tournaments just because they're going to go low owned. And, all 3 of them do have the upside to go for 40 to 50 plus in this spot. So that's kind of where I'm at on this game. Creighton guys are reasonable, but not priority plays. I think Enrique Freeman is a big decision point. And I think Tribble is a decent kind of contrarian cheap guy. Kurt, any last thoughts here?
Like you said, I mean, if it's going to be a Creighton guy, it's going to be Trey Alexander just because, I mean, I don't know. If you play enough value, like Baylor's been good to me this year, but 9-5 on a 12 gamer and like 12.5 point spread, does Creighton get Creighton and do rest their guys if they do get double-digit lead just to kind of save some minutes? I doubt it because they have 0 bench, but it's just a steep price to pay. I guess it depends if you fall in love with like they're just really cheap value. But Ray Alexander, pass for me.
All right, let's keep it moving. Really good game in the early slate, at least for points. Beach against Arizona. We rode Beach in their conference tournament all the way through. They were awesome to us. I took them again here, plus 21 against Arizona. Total up over 160, Kurt. We got some good pricing here, too, I think, on both sides. I think this is the best kind of tournament game stack type of spot on the entire slate. We got the Traore brothers on Beach that both project really well. Those are the big guys. So some foul risk having to guard Ballo, who can really draw fouls, especially if Beach keeps the game close. I think that the Arizona guys have mega upside here. We saw Love struggle in the Pac-12 tournament. Kind of a get-right spot here. Beach 29th in tempo. So they are going to play at the pace that Arizona wants to play at. So I think there's a lot of good plays in this game. Kurt, why don't you start on the Beach side? I think we've got 3-4 guys that are good plays there.
Yeah, I memean, a lot. So I actually did my core as a mini stack of this game. I kind of wanted to get a little bit different from what you had and give a DPP core. So I got just the two guys in the core are going to be Marcus Shoshonus, who is going to shoot so many shots, 6,300. And these are the kind of guys I want. Guards and Marshall will just chuck. If they don't go in, then it's not my day. I'll just move on. This is the GPP lineup. So Shoshonus, GPP. And then Caleb Love, who, I mean, this is his game style. Like a lot of those Pac-12 games down the stretch, he looked terrible. But, I mean, think of the game style they were. Like the other teams were not really going as fast as Arizona would have liked to. Long Beach is going to. So I like the little guard matchup between Shoshonus and Love. That's kind of the two of the pieces of my core I'll give away. Ballo could absolutely shit on them if somehow this game is within 13 points, under 6 or something. I'd imagine Ballo absolutely nuke them into absolute oblivion. Traore, okay, I'm not going to act like I've watched Long Beach all year, but I believe it's Lucina who will have less coverage on Ballo, correct?
Yeah.
So I want that Traore, and I save $500 doing so. I imagine, will they slide the brother to Ballo if Abba Core gets in foul trouble?
Well, no, actually, Lucina's going to be the one that's going to be on Ballo. He's the taller of the twins.
So I'll sacrifice the 500 to avoid that foul trouble then.
Yeah. I think both are awesome plays if they can stay out of foul trouble. Like you said, Ballo, great play. The issue is if Arizona runs him off the court, Ballo's live to only play like 23, 24 minutes. But Lloyd has said that they've kind of been saving his minutes upside for late in the season. So this is what we saw last year when Ballo starts to play 32. When he gets over 30 minutes is when he really gets his ceiling and he can really smash. So I think Ballo is the best tournament play maybe on the entire slate. He's priced up. I think people are going to be scared to click him. People are going to click Enrique Freeman over him at the same price for sure. I think Ballo and Love are great plays here. And the Traore twins, the best plays, or brothers, the best plays on Beach. Any other interest besides the top guys and Sahonis here? Like any Kashad Johnson for you in the mid-range, Boswell, Larson, anything like that?
I mean, I've not got any of the ancillary pieces for Arizona right all year. I barely got Caleb Love right, to be honest, which is why I kind of just been playing Ballo until Love's price dipped in the Pac-12 tournament. Was it Jones that projected decently for Long Beach? I'm probably just going to rotate Long Beach because I have 20 in the main. So that's kind of how I'll be approaching it. But that's really just, I really want to focus on just showing us Love and Ballo.
Yep. All right, let's keep it moving. Pretty bad game here. Wagner against Carolina. Wagner wins the play-in game. Arguably the worst team left in the field. Carolina dropped the ACC tournament game to NC State. That was surprising, but they kind of get a reset there and get the extra day. But yeah, I mean, Carolina's laying 25 here, 133 total. The big thing here is Wagner is down to 7 scholarship players. They probably said it 400 times in that game the other night. So they're going to play all of their guys the entire game. We saw Council just absolutely nuke Howard. He's under 7K here, but with a 54 team total as a scoring reliant guy, kind of tough for me to play Council. the interest here is in Esquera, the point guard. We played him. Wagner was on a slate or two last week during the conference tournament at like 3K or 3-4. He's going to play all 40 minutes here. The floor is just really, really good on him. Hard to get away from him in my mind, even with the low team total. He's going to project well. So thoughts on him, and then thoughts on the Carolina Big Three.
So I have a kind of, I guess this would kind of be unique take on Javier. I think it's a great cash game play, survivor play, all that stuff. I think I just put him in to kind of take the floor. In GPPs, I want to be either match the field or actually a little bit lower in GPPs because I question his ceiling. And I think if you do get the nuts, you can have someone in this price range outscore for him. So in GPPs, I want to be either match or underweight on him. And then in cash games, all that stuff, I'm just putting him in and just kind of taking that's okay. He plays 40. Okay, a horrendous game, but he got 12. Like, I'll be fine. That's kind of the approach I'm taking on him.
Yeah. Any interest in the Carolina guys here? RJ Davis and Baycott right around 8K. But it's going to be a really slow game. Wagner, like bottom 5 in the country in pace.
Maybe like there's a narrative where UNC shoots horrendous. The game stays close enough because of such, and then they just start feeding Baycott inside. That's the narrative, but they probably just kick the shit out of him, and they don't get full run.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat here. I think, especially after playing through the championship game last week, I think Carolina gets up early. Wagner doesn't score much, and they can kind of coast into the Saturday game for them. All right, let's move on. More interesting game for DFS here. Moorhead against Illinois. Illinois minus 11, 146.5 total. Some really interesting plays on the Moorhead side here, Kurt. Riley Minix, absolute stud, does pretty much everything for him. He's priced at 8.4, so same price as Enrique Freeman. Do you have a favorite between Minix, Freeman, Ballo, guys like that?
I don't know what happened to the screen right now. Stevie, please fix it.
Oh my God, what'd you do?
I didn't do anything. I don't think. Oh, I might have pressed a button. There we go.
No,
oh, nope.
You did something.
Oh yeah, baby.
Okay.
I
fixed it.
Oh gosh, I look like a hobo right now, but that's funny. Okay, I do like this game for DFS, but I also kind of think the under is live too, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. Don't give a shit. Coleman Hawkins, like Caleb Love, was bad to me, but I'm going back to him. I think he's a mismatch nightmare for Moorhead. He's just shot so bad in the Pac-12 tournament. Arena change is kind of big for some of these guys. We saw it last year with old boy that played for UConn, now plays for the Pelicans. Oh my God, he was so good to us.
Jordan Hawkins.
So like the first round, his first and second, he was bad. And then he got out to Vegas, and like it was just change of arena helps. So maybe Coleman Hawkins, arena change, starts making some of these threes, because if he does, he was putting up awesome peripherals, obviously, because he does. The guy's a great defender. He's long, mismatch nightmare. Like I said, I ran it back in my core. I'm just giving away my whole core. Fuck it. It's Illinois. I'm going Minix pivot to Jordan Lathan.
Mm-hmm.
This is a GPP core, guys, so stick with me here. But there's Terry Shannon, like I know he's 9.3. Domas has been awesome, but I really don't want to pay 8K. Ty Rogers is a great cash game play. Riley Minix, obviously stud. I'm going to have him. I kind of want one of these Moorhead guys in most of my teams. Is that a hot take?
No, I mean, it's a huge pace up. Illinois 26 in tempo, or 56 in tempo, sorry. I think Minix is a great play up top. We have a good projection on him. He's going to play basically the entire game, leads the team in usage, shot share, rebounding, has stock upside. I think Lathan is a really interesting play. We have a play later at 5.8 that's going to be mega owned, who's also a huge fouler. So I think he's an interesting pivot to like a core at that same price level there. And then Rick's at 4.5. He's going to come off the bench, which is a bit scary, and he's a freshman, but he's going to play low to mid 20s minutes. He's got some rebounding and block upside. And we do want exposure to Moorhead. So I like a couple of plays here. And then Terry Shannon, wow, he just blowtorched the Big Ten tournament. He was so good. He was so good. Not the best price and spot for him. So I like your Coleman Hawkins call. People aren't going to want to click him after he had kind of a sleepy tournament, but we've seen his upside. He can just absolutely nuke, and at 7-4, I think he's a perfect bring back for a game stack there. Any last thoughts on this one?
Just about Coleman Hawkins, like when you play these mid-major teams, like who's going to guard Coleman Hawkins? He's a 6'10" versatile guy on the It's just a tough guard, man, and he may not do anything today, but I'll tell you what, the 50-point ceiling is live more than ever against a team like Moorhead. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. Oregon, South Carolina, interesting game here. Oregon goes through the Pac-12 tournament, wins it. They're finally healthy for the most part. They got N'Faly Dante back, and he was awesome in that tournament. Absolutely crushed Colorado. I think he was 12 for 12 from the field in that final game. He's also sitting there in that mid 8K range. There's a lot of really good plays in the mid 8Ks here. We've already talked about 4 or 5 of them. Tough matchup here. This game's going to be slow. South Carolina is going to walk the ball up and really try to just grind this one out. That's kind of how they played all season. That's how they've beaten teams that are honestly more talented than them, and that's what Oregon is. Oregon's got more talent here. Starting with Dante, just such a great player. Kuzma was playing through a bit of an injury in the tournament, but, was still playing good minutes and played well. Battled fouls there in the championship game, but should play 35 plus. Oregon's going to zone South Carolina, who is surprisingly a pretty decent zone offense this year. I kind of tend to think Oregon wins this game outright. That line is flipped from Carolina to Oregon. Oregon now -1 or so, 133.5 total, Kurt. So a lower total here. Do you have any interest for DFS?
Very little. I wish they would have enticed us with Michi's price a little bit, because he's just been shooting so bad. I feel like they could have threw us a curveball and gave him 5,900 or some shit, kind of like Horn, maybe in the Horn range. But I feel like Horn's. I'm just gonna play Horn over Michi all day in the matchup and stuff too. Dante's been awesome, but I'd rather just take a risk on Ballo or someone like that, or even Freeman. I just think Dante is a better real life player, and he's obviously had great fantasy performances. But I just think he can have a great real life game here and then have 35. And it's it's not bad, but I feel like he gets outscored by some of the other guys up there. Kushner had that shoulder injury. I'm not sure it's something that goes away easily, but he can easily fight through it and set the stat sheet, get the peripherals. He definitely minutes will get ticked back up here. I think he's fine for cash. There's a lot of 7K even guys. There's him, there's Stevens, there's Blackshear, where I feel like they can just have mucky games and kind of get there in that range, all 3 of them. Same type of play for me. I'll keep him in the pool, but guys like that I'm not going to really prioritize. Tracy's fine, 4,600, playing absolute massive minutes. He just doesn't do much sometimes. I'll tell you what, though, because I actually went back and watched a couple of Oregon games because I was bored 2 weeks ago. And Pac-12 Network's free over here. When Shellstad struggles, Tracy kind of does take on more of that facilitating role. So maybe the stage is too big for the freshman. South Carolina frustrates him, and Tracy just happened to do a little bit more usage-wise. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think this game's full of guys that are in the pool, in play, but not priority plays. The freshman Murray Boyles, I think, is interesting at 8K. I think maybe these guys, Kurt, if you're playing that afternoon 4 gamer, I think these guys are more in play, something like that.
So this is what I was worried about with the Oregon pick. Because I've watched Oregon, like I just said, and they can't shoot for a fucking dick, man. They can't shoot for shit. But they do everything else magnificently.
They played awesome defense in that tournament. I kind of like the under too. All right, let's keep it moving. Game 8, Nevada Dayton. Interesting game. I know a lot of people are on Nevada here. I took Dayton in my bracket. I've been high on Dayton all year. They closed the season really poorly, but I trust the upside of this team. I actually like both teams long term, honestly. Nevada -1, 136.5 total here, Kurt. Some really solid players on both sides, starting with Deron Holmes. 9,600 though. It's a big boy price tag. It's him or Dickinson for highest projection on the slate. He's number 4 at KenPom's National Player of the Year rankings right now. Nevada's weaker inside. He's got 20-plus real points in 4 straight games. And he's the type of guy who can smash even if a game isn't high scoring. Do you have any interest in him for tournaments? And then anything else in this game for you?
I mean, I'm not playing him, but like if you like your lineup and you have enough for 9,600, I'm not going to talk anyone off of him. I mean, the guy literally watched him get in massive foul trouble, have a terrible game early in the season and like a Friday slate, and he still somehow got like 42. I'm just like, I faded that day. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I had the nut run out, and the guy still gets 42. I'm like, alrighty then. And it was like a 120 total too. So I'm like, how did this happen? So that just kind of tells you the degree of player that DaRon Holmes is. Everything with this Dayton team. For Nevada, it's, man, seeing 7K Blackshear. If you would have told me that last year, I'm pretty sure he came into the tournament or whatever they were in last year, like mid-8s or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he's healthier now, battled some injury. That's tasty for GPPs, especially in those mid-tier builds if you have them.
Yeah, he's going to get lost in the shuffle here. Dayton plays slow, 337 tempo. But, you get a point guard with top 50 nationwide usage rate, top 25 assist rate. We have a really good projection on Blackshear despite the bad game environment. I think he's definitely interesting. I definitely prefer him over Davidson. Holmes should just kind of eat him alive inside. So it's Holmes and Blackshear here for me. Any other interest?
Can't say it. I do not. There's too many value plays elsewhere and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. Good real life game here next. Colorado State, Texas. Colorado State just destroyed Virginia. That was awesome to see on Tuesday. Texas laying 2 here, 144-ish total. Interesting game for DFS. We get, I think, one of the bigger decisions on the slate here again in what to do with 7K Dylan Dessou. We've seen him up above 8K for a while. He's been pretty maddening player for anyone who's been playing college hoops DFS throughout the entire season. The ceiling is sky high, but he could also, he gets in first half foul trouble seemingly more than anyone else in the country. He's a great shooter for a big man. He's going to put up a big score if he doesn't foul, but he fouls early in games a lot. So I think he's one of the better tournament plays on the slate. Just a really, really interesting play at 7K. What are your thoughts on Dessou here?
It's the fouls. And like, I think Gavin said earlier in the year, I've done this too. You can't say, okay, what if this guy fouls? Like, I just think, what if he doesn't foul? Does he break the slate? Probably. I don't know in Colorado State who checks him. So that's how I'm going to be playing GPPs. Playing the slate as if Dylan Dessou doesn't foul, and he plays high 20, even if it's not even 30, even if it's like 28 minutes, I think he does enough here at 7K. Love the play. Good total. Love the matchup. Give me all the Dessous and GPPs. Probably would have been my other core piece if there was another spot.
Yeah, I've got him in my quote-unquote contrarian core. And then the Colorado State side, Nick Clifford, man, he has proven me wrong time and time again the entire year. He's been so good. Him and Stevens and Joel Scott played well on Tuesday as well. Stevens, a couple sleepy games in a row. But he also goes from Reese Beekman guarding him to Max Asmus, who he should be able to do whatever he wants, really. Great matchup for Stevens. I think he's the best play on Colorado State, despite, a couple of bad games coming in with Neek and Joel Scott playing well coming in. Any thoughts between those three guys there?
Will they slide Asmus to Clifford and then have Hunter on Stevens, do you think?
Maybe.
Did they do that?
I don't know. But
here's my point is I respect Hunter defensively, but after Stevens seeing Beekman just now, I don't think it matters too much. Like, I feel like it's the ultimate, like, iron sharpens iron type of deal. I think that Stevens will be even better, even if he does get Hunter coverage here. I think Stevens is a good mid-tier player who also gets overlooked. Wish he was $500 cheaper, like with Blackshear, because it makes stuff work. But in a 20 max play, I'm definitely going to have him in my pool. As far as everyone, Clifford's been awesome, but like I said, I'm not just 7'6", mother of God. And I don't really want to play the forward roulette that Colorado State has. Ithiel Horton, cheap, 32 minutes, you can have him in the pool. Man, A. Smith is fine, but I kind of like attacking Colorado State inside on those little slates that we have had from them. So once again, only a game where I only have 2 or 3 guys in the pool, probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that.
He says
Early in the
Rodney Terry. I
slate.
doubt it. What an idiot! Idiot.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
it's Dessou and Stevens here in like the main pool. Depending on how many lineups you're playing, there's a mini max, which is if you're a member for RPS, that's basically my entire pool is, for something like that. So if you're playing a bunch of lineups, that's when you add in the Nick Cliffords, the Joel Scotts, the Ith Hortons, guys like that. All right, interesting game next. Oakland against Kentucky. Interesting matchup. Oakland wins the Horizon. Kentucky up to 19th at Ken Palm. I'm seeing Kentucky minus 13.5, 161.5 total as of last night. Kurt, Oakland prices are pretty good here. I think Rocket Watts and Isaiah Jones are going to play.
What?
But I'm not sure how much their role, like how many minutes they're going to play here. So on our site, we already have them projected in. So if you're an RPS member, our projections reflect those guys playing. I think we have them for like 12 or so minutes each. Does that impact anything for you? And let's start with Oakland here. Trey Townsend, just kind of their do-it-all usage monster. He's going to play the entire game. I think he's one of the better plays in the 7K range as well.
Yeah, I like Townsend. I think he'll be a mismatch nightmare as long as they don't Vicious doesn't get off and somehow drop out. I don't know. I think his versatility will kind of give UK fits. 7,600 is good. He should play every minute, even with those guys back. He should be unaffected by them, like you mentioned. For UK, it's the same thing. And so what those guys back, Lampman was good to me like that first slate, but he's really getting there on the stock. So if you take away 4 minutes from him, I feel like it really limits him. I really did not want those guys to play. Kind of makes you just want to stack Sanford.
So I think that the best Townsend play, or the best non-Townsend play, is DQ Cole here. I don't think Watson's going to play a ton. Cole's the cheapest of that group. I think he's the best non-Townsend play. On the Kentucky side, do you have any takes here? They're all overpriced, but they could easily score 90 plus on Oakland, especially if the threes are falling against the zone. I think Dillingham probably the best play. So if you haven't watched Kentucky, their 2 best players come off the bench, and Reed Shepherd and Dillingham, but they kind of play starters minutes. But the reason their team is so good is because they go 8-9 deep with a bunch of really talented players. So there's a bit of hot hand in there, and they're priced up because they play fast, 11th in tempo, and they're going to score a shitload of points. So the upside is there, but I'm not sure how you get to Kentucky here unless you're playing 2 Oakland and you want one on the other side. What do you think?
Yeah, I've just not been playing them all year, and honestly, it's not really hurt me. So great game environment, but what do you do? It's a 17 game, so maybe if you had a giant bust, you play the Avicic card where maybe somehow he plays 25 because you're dead. I'm talking you're drawing stone dead, and you just need something crazy. Avicic's a pivot there. I like to talk about those pivots when you're down. But even then, I question, does his 30 really do enough for you if he gets it? Not sure. So he'd really need 25 minutes to really, really get the 40. If you're dead, only the dead lineups. Let me emphasize only the dead lineups. Besides that, probably just Xing out Kentucky.
Yeah, I think my favorite plays here are Townsend, Cole, and Dillingham.
I like the chucker. Go Lucky.
Golke? Go Lucky.
Go Lucky. The guy who
that's a 3-point shooter. I think Go Lucky is a good name.
Go Lucky, let's go. So keep him in the pool. I think it was the first game we had him on slate, or the second game. He literally just chucked. Wasn't making a shot. Didn't care.
Yeah, he's a great shooter though. All right, let's keep it moving. McNeese against Gonzaga. Gonzaga minus 6.5, 149.5 total. McNeese, a popular dog here, playing a dog shit conference. Will Wade, the coach. They got a couple of down transfers leading their team. Shahada Wells, CJ Felder's in the field or in the fold there. They went 30-3 in the Southland, but massive step up in competition here. Gonzaga is going to try to get them to run. I think if McNeese runs with Gonzaga, they're just stone dead in this game. I think this line should be wider. I know McNeese is popular, but I just don't see it personally. But for DFS wise, the McNeese guys kind of tough to get to. Shahada Wells at 8.7. Like, I just don't know how you click him over the mid 8K guys that we've talked about all day here or all show here. I think CJ Felder's at least decently interesting at 4.1 to try to get different. You know, there's going to be some 4K guys that are super popular. Felder's going to come off the bench, you know, ex-Boston College, Florida big, but he's got a real role. You know, he's going to play 20 to 25 minutes. He's pretty cheap there. So I kind of like him the best on the McNeese side. What do you got here, Kurt?
I wish Shahada Wells was just a tiny bit cheaper. I really just going to go straight like punt and go Mike Saunders, 16, 18, 15 minutes his last three. He's 3,100. Gonzaga probably is able to McNeese probably fouls them. They're not going to be able to really keep up with them. I guess maybe Garcia or Richards fouls. Saunders has to play upwards of 20 minutes, and you're getting 20 minutes in a fast-paced game for a 3,100 guy. I don't think it's a main team play. Don't think it's cash play. But I want to have him in the pool for a couple where I really want to jam the high guys. Like, if you want to play Holmes, these are the type of plays you play. Saunders, and maybe he gets pushed up to 22 minutes or something like that. On the Gonzaga side, I first of all, we all know I hate Graham Ike. I don't think he has any shot he doesn't have a shot creative bone in his body. The guy has to literally have it served in a fucking dish to him or get stalks, which is probably fine for a game like this, to be honest. But I hate that guy, and I'm going to let my bias cause a fade. I don't really have any Gonzaga takes. You're the Gonzaga guy, Stevie, so bring us home.
So the matchup is better for the guards here for Gonzaga. The issue is Nembhard's 8,200. He's been awesome down the stretch, but just kind of I don't know. I like the other AK plays better than him. I think he's fine. Anton Watson at 7.2, I think, is a good play. Just an awesome defender. He's probably not going to leave the court, especially if McNeese can keep this game close. I think Anton's probably the best play, maybe in this whole game here, but no one for like a main lineup. I think these are more in your pool type of plays. It's a tough matchup for EK. I think I actually prefer Nembhard over him. McNeese really tough to score at the rim. So with post ups. So I think it's Anton, maybe some CJ Felder and pass for me. We have a good projection on Shoemate here. Gets a tough matchup at the 4 with Anton though. So I think I'll probably be avoiding him here. Any last thoughts before we move on?
Shoemate tilted me when he was in the max so much. 7K, 14% usage against Anton Watson. If that beats me, that beats me. Who do you play for? Akron or Toledo? Toledo, right?
That was a different one. That was a different Shoemate.
There's two Shoemates, and there's no way.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Well, still, the numbers just aren't sexy to me. Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Hickman's going to shoot a bunch of threes in this game. And yeah, he could. I mean, I could throttle anyone. He's way bigger and more talented than
I'll DM up
McNeese, who played no one in the non-con really. And I don't know. I think they're way overrated in this spot. All right, let's go to South Dakota State, Iowa State. Perhaps the worst game of the entire day. Iowa State, wins the Big 12 tournament, shut down Houston there in the championship game. South Dakota State comes in here with a team total of around 60. Iowa State minus 16, 135.5 total here. On the South Dakota State, Kurt, I think it's the big guy only, William Kyle III at 5,700 as a guy just to kind of include, just because he can get there without the game being high scoring. But besides that, I don't really like anything in this game. What do you think?
I mean, Iowa State scares the shit out of me. I mean, Luca Pell, last 3, 18% shot rate, 60% rebound rate, 34% assist rate. He's 5,100. Iowa State really rotates all those bigs, though, and they're all pretty decent at defense. But, I mean, if the rates are something you go by, 5,100 is probably in play if you fall their last spot. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Luka
Anything on
Pell?
Iowa State here? I think they just kind of blow them out, and the guys don't play full minutes here.
Yeah, I mean Lipsky, those two guys above 7K now, and almost like they're mid 7K. It's just totally and a low total style they play. It's just gross.
Yeah, on a 16 gamer, I'm not playing any Iowa State guys. All right, another one, St. Peter's, Tennessee. St. Peter's with a 55 team total here. Tennessee's minus 21.5, 130 total. I believe this is the lowest the entire day. Dalton Connect been awesome all season. Adu under 8K. Expected blowout here, though, and Tennessee hasn't been shy, or they weren't shy in the non-conference about getting the backups involved. I think Adu's probably the best play on the Tennessee side just because we've seen him nuke in limited minutes, especially against shitty teams, which St. Peter's is. I think Adu is interesting if you're playing a bunch of lineups just because he can go for 35 plus in 24 minutes, Connect probably a bit overpriced here with the blowout. I think they're fun plays for like the big $20 though, and then a big decision point is Corey Washington on St. Peter's. His roles pretty meaningfully changed down the stretch. Now playing mid 30s minutes. He's now the usage leader. It's just a really tough spot, man. Like 55 team total. They might even score less than that. I went through his game logs in games where St. Peter's scored under 60, and it was like 18, 16 DK, 19 DK, but then he mixes in like the 40. So it's a scary fade. I think he's a scary play, though, too, and an interesting decision point of the slate. Do you have any read there? And then thoughts on the Tennessee guys?
The Washington thing, I was hoping you'd give me an answer because he made my first lineup, but Jesus. I mean, that total, like I could easily see this being a spot where he gets me like 19. I'm like, oh, that's not great. Don't love that. For Tennessee, I want this to be a game where they're really up like 15 the whole time. They really just let like the bench get super deep. You see Meshack play like 25 to like everyone just get, and then all the prices decrease. And then next or Saturday, we attack the hell out of Tennessee. That's what I want to do here. So hopefully I'm going to be all off Tennessee. Hopefully no one does anything. Hopefully the blowout makes it look like they all did terrible, and then DK algorithm fucks up the pricing, and we just attack the shit out of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, besides the Washington is such an interesting spot because he projects so well, even with the low team total. I think he's interesting. I'm interested to see how owned he's going to come in here. Yeah, I still honestly don't know what I'm doing with him. Let's keep it moving. NC State, Texas Tech. NC State runs through the ACC tournament, maybe the wildest power conference tournament winner ever. They win the ACC. They beat Carolina. And then Texas Tech has battled big-time injuries down the stretch. Darian Williams and Warren Washington come in here questionable. I think both play here, Kurt. And if both play, I think Texas Tech is the right side of this game. I think they're really interesting for Survivor. I think they can win without Warren Washington, but I think he now plays in this game. I think he practiced yesterday. So,
wow.
But DFS-wise, what do you think here? I think the best plays in this game, DJ Horn, who came back from injury, he's going to play max minutes, 6,200. We saw him at 8K, a week and a half ago?
Yeah.
So Horn is the guy with the upside here. It's a pretty high total, 145.5. Mo Diarra just absolutely hoovered rebounds down the stretch. Double threat, priced up a bit now, but and a worse matchup if Warren Washington plays. He's a great defender down low. So What are your overall thoughts on this one here?
First of all, I didn't think those guys were going to play, so that's massive. I made the change of the bracket and have Tech winning probably a couple games. This team fully healthy is a pretty damn solid team, and they get a matchup against NC State where if they are completely healthy, they could just smack NC State. Like, just make their little Cinderella run, just completely shit on it. So that's interesting. I did not. It's the first time I'm hearing this. I had no idea. The Donald Trump.
Yeah, no.
I'm funny, okay?
It's not solid, but there was a report yesterday that
I mean, if he's practicing, that's
like trending towards playing.
It's time to know or shut up. And if you can practice, you can play. That's my.
Yeah.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Set out for what, almost 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
He probably won't have a full role, but just him being out there, and then he'll have to play Yalaho or whatever. And it's also good because now we don't have to play Yalaho.
Hey, he was going to be the last one. He did enough for me, but dear Lord. On NC State, then that probably makes it just DJ Horn play for me. 20% usage, 6,200. I mean, yeah, just he'll chuck. I think he can do enough to get you 4x. 3.5 probably won't absolutely kill you and some of the high dollar, low entry stuff. And it probably puts me off the rest of these guys now with that Tech news. So just DJ Horn, and honestly for Tech, it kind of evens it out. Like I was kind of want to attack NC State, but now I'm fine with it. Like Pop Isaacs, Joe Toussaint, and Chance McMillan's been absolutely awesome. But with Darren Williams returning to it, kind of just really muddies the waters completely to where I'll probably just take it easy.
Yeah, I think these are like last man in types, maybe for like the night slate where you don't have as many options. I think is when you get to like the Texas Tech guys. Pop Isaacs is probably my favorite play there because those guys returning probably impact him the least.
Chance McMillan really gets hurt by that.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 games left. I'm going to go out of order here, Kurt, so we can end with the Kansas game. Let's talk about Drake and Washington State. Everyone in the country is on Drake here. Drake line has not moved whatsoever, holding at -1, 137.5. I'm higher on Washington State than most. I thought they really showed down the stretch that they're a good team. They've got 3 guys who can get it done in any game with Jones, Rice, and Wells. I kind of think Wazoo wins this game in the face of the mega chalk Drake pick when they're only a 1-point favorite here. Tucker DeVries on the other side, obviously a stud, but it's kind of a one-man band with them. You know, he has a bad game or you shut him down. It's going to be tough for Drake to beat a team like Wazoo, who's way bigger than them, way more physical than them. Drake, a great defensive rebounding team, the best in the country, but I don't know. I just am pretty high on this Wazoo team. I like them a lot. Any thoughts on the game and then DFS wise as well?
Miles Rice, freshman first 20 game, 30 burger maybe, 30 real. What?
It's a tough game environment for it.
It is, and obviously saying a freshman in his first 20 games scoring 30 and a 138 total is absolutely wild. But I love the kid's upside. Didn't do much in the Pac-12 tournament, but 7K I think is a great GPP play, alternate lineup play, like 5th, 6th, one lineup in your 20 max type play. No one's going to play him whatsoever, but I think he has a really high ceiling here. The freshman is a bucket. Love the price. Don't think anyone on Drake can defend him if he's hitting his looks. Tucker DeVries is probably just too expensive for me. Guy that was good to us, but it's really just that. Like Jones is cheap too, but I've not really got. Besides Rice, I've not really got Washington State right all year.
So I think Jalen Wells is a really good play at 6'2" on the late slate. That's only a 4-gamer. I think that he's going to fit lineups pretty well. I think my first build for that night slate had Wells in there.
If you haven't hated on your Washington State call.
Yeah, he doesn't like Wazoo, but whatever.
I
think Huinsu is interesting here. So in place of Watts, who was kind of playing down the stretch in the Pac-12 tournament, they went to Huinsu as the guard off the bench, and he played like mid-20s minutes off the bench there at 4-1. I think he's the guy if you're dead early or you need a swap and you've got a bunch of these Samford guys in there that people are going to play, I think that he's the guy that I'm going to go to as a pivot there at 4-1 because he played well in that Pac-12 tournament. We've seen him have a good role in the past. I think he's interesting for stuff like that, like not going into the slate with him, but changing to him if you're down early or just on the night slate. Yeah, Gavin, you're just wrong on that take. Sorry. All right, let's wrap it up with the most important game on the slate: Samford and Kansas. Kansas -7, 154 total. The big news, obviously, McCullough not going to play in the tournament after Jeff Goodman reported that he was going to play. Pretty hilarious there. So that gives us Hunter Dickinson in a mega usage role at 9-4. Projects awesome. He's expensive. Didn't do great when KMC was out earlier, but he also wasn't playing against Samford. Samford 14th in tempo in the country. This game's going to get up and down. So I think we should start with the KU side. Thoughts on Dickinson, Furphy? What do you like on the KU side?
Going right back to my boy Furphy, baby. Tempo of this game's awesome. They need him to step up because Dickinson needs like a 2 guy. Harris going to run the show. KJ Adams do the dirty work. They need a guy that can just be an absolute bucket. Johnny Furphy, for the love of God, just come through for me once in your pathetic life. I'm begging you. This is the spot. I'm not even going to play him at main, but I'm going to be overweight in GPPs. Like I said, he's been terrible to me all year. I think Dickinson's probably the best floor. I mean, I don't know. All the 9K guys have the best floor, but I guess I don't know what I'm going to do with Dickinson yet. He probably goes for 50 here, right? I don't see how he doesn't.
I think he's an awesome play. He's tough to fit, but
he is tough to fit. That's what she said.
I think he's the best play in the 9K range, just because
that's what I wanted to say. But
just because of the context of the slate,
save 200 on home
and because you're probably playing multiple Samford guys. So let's talk about Samford. Akora is the most expensive guy at 5'8". This is going to be a high tempo game. They have a 74 team total as the dog here. So he's going to project awesome. We keep docking his projection because he is a big time fouler. So he's going to have to guard Hunter Dickinson this entire game. Well, when he's on the court, he's probably going to foul. Hunter Dickinson draws a ton of fouls. Not as many as last year, but he does draw fouls. Akora, 5.4 fouls per 40 on the season, but against Tier A competition, 10.0 fouls per 40.
Jesus Christ.
I think he comes in as the highest owned player on the slate, if not one of the highest owned. I think he's an elite fade in tournaments. It's scary because if he doesn't foul, he's going to crush.
Jermaine Marshall, come on down.
So,
I guess. I don't know.
It is scary because if he doesn't foul, his rates are awesome, and he's going to play 32 minutes and score 20 real points with a double-double. But I think you can get unique in tournaments and not play him. It is scary, though. So thoughts on him, and then thoughts on the rest of these guys here.
As far as even swapping goes, I don't even know how you would treat him as a swap either. I guess you take the risk of the fouls if you're down, even though he's going to be chalky. I'm not sure how to handle him. I guess I'm just going to try to match the field in GPPs, and I'm not in cash only if I need to catch up ground. Rylan Jones, obviously great last name. Feels the best here.
Great last name.
I got Jermaine Marshall in 1 already. I built 5. He hit 1. Those are the only thing I'm getting to on Samford. Am I overlooking somebody? Let's see. Who's your third?
So it's Akora, it's Marshall, Jones, and then I think who's really interesting is Staten McRae. I think he's the pivot piece. So he was hurt for a bit, just came back for the tournament, played 13 and 18 minutes in their tournament. He's had a full 10 days off since then. So he was starting before that. I could see him start here. He was starting and playing like low to mid 20s minutes, up to 28 in the game before he got hurt. So I think
He was playing how many?
He played 28 in his last game before the injury. It was that Mercer game in mid-February. So in that game, they started Jones, Staten McCray, Okoronkwo, Jaden Campbell, and Graziani. So that was Marshall and Hicks off the bench. So yeah, it's an interesting team. They play a deep rotation. You're probably not going to see more than two guys over 30 minutes here, but they project well. They're in a great game. And they're kind of the key to the slate. I just think McCray is a really, really interesting pivot. And
I love that.
With these tournament locks, this is the second game at that same location. So we probably won't get starters, but if we get starters, like just keep an eye on this Samford 5, because I think that he could sneak in there. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there. Any thoughts for you on them?
You just talked me into probably way too much McCray, but I got time to change stuff. I can be safer as the day goes on, but I think he's an elite pivot off the other guys. I don't think anyone's going to click his name.
Yeah, I like him in tournaments.
Love that call.
Especially if we're not going to get the news, you just kind of take the risk. He's 4K, he's probably going to play 18 to 20 minutes anyways. So, all right, that's all the games here, all 16, under an hour. Look at us, Kurt. That's wild.
That's nice.
First game that tips is that Sparty game at 12:15 Eastern. Do you want to wrap up with some overall slate thoughts and then give us your play of the day?
A lot of good value plays. I think swapping throughout the day is going to be massive. I'll always talk about that, but I think it's going to be huge. So I'm going to keep harping on it. And then as far as the play of the day goes, until the Oakland news, I had it. It's going to be freaking Mr. Go Lucky. Hope he chucks some. So I'm going to go actually Marcus Tashonis. Long Beach State. Not Short Beach State. Long Beach State. Marcus Tashonis.
Short Beach State.
They're going to be Short Beach State if he screws me.
Do you know what Gavin calls him?
I want to know.
Goat Honus. Marcus
Boom.
Goat Honus.
Gavin approved.
Yeah. Overall slate thoughts for me. I'm kind of easing into this slate. I think the first window, the Long Beach, Arizona game is good. I think the Moorhead game is good. I think the Texas game is sneaky for like one guy on each side. Like you do a Dessou Stevens, a Dessou Neek, something like that. And then the Oakland game is good. And then, just getting Samford, Kansas right is obviously important. So, so we have some good secondary slates on DK today. If you're a Run Pure member, I'll be posting cores for all those in the Discord. If you're not a member, we have a current promo March 15 to get you in for March. We've got playbooks up for every slate. The core plays are in. Big T's posting a core right now. Schlong's posting a core. Captain's going to have a core up. Kurt's got a core up. We're going to have a playbook for all these slates. So go ahead and join us. We've been here all season, but now is our time. We got an hour till lock. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, to chop up Friday's 16 gamer. Bit tighter pricing tomorrow, Kurt. So, but
Nice.
We got to get through these games first. So for Kurt, I'm Steve. We'll catch you tomorrow.